Peace, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, 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 peace. Just hopping on. It's good, people. It's good, everybody. Peace, everybody. Peace, peace.
What poster board is that?
He went to get one. So he's talking about for later. But I'm gonna talk to y'all about it when I get off the live.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Done with your stuff?
What?
You done?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
This wasn't.
Okay. Y'all clean up. Give me a minute, y'all. I'm gonna be right with you. Peace. Feel free to drop your birthday. Anybody want to drop their birthday? Feel free to do so. I'll be right there, y'all. Give me 1 minute. Y'all share the live. We're going to talk about some numerology. We're going to do some life path readings. And we're just going to talk about transformation. Change your mind, change your life. Alchemy. Transformation, transmutation. How do you live your life authentically? You know, are you dealing with feeling unfulfilled? You having stagnant energy? You've been procrastinating. You struggling making your decisions. You got some self-destructive habits that you having a hard time pulling away from. These are the things that we address when we're talking about shadow work. And there's a multitude of ways that you can perform shadow work. There's no one way. There's no one size fits all way to there's no one way to do shadow work. It's a very individualistic journey. Okay. All right. Okay, so you got one from me a while ago from the site. Oh, that's what's up. You know, if you ever want to dive deeper into it, then reach out and we can do a one-on-one and we can take that a little deeper. But absolutely. So, you know, I don't know who's been following me, but if you haven't, it's perfectly fine. But I'm very, very big when talking about shadow work. I discuss shadow work a lot. A lot of things in my content is pertaining to shadow work. Now, what is shadow work? When you're talking about shadow work, it's the means of addressing your shadow. And what you say in the shadow, that's in reference of we live in a world, we live in a society that has certain rules and expectations and traditions, and even in our families that we grow up in. But, you know, when we are young and our authentic selves can get lost a lot of times in trying to decipher between those societal norms, depending on our environment. You know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So what happens is we push those things that we find to not be accepted, whether that's in society, you know, whether it's not ethically okay, or depending now, because some of us grow up in abusive environments and we can't even allow our lights to shine, and we find ourselves pushing our light into the shadow, which is one of the main reasons why I'm so big on shadow work, because we don't realize how much of our talents, right? How much of our passions and how much of our true selves is hiding and locked away in that shadow. So it's very important that we address these issues, because if we don't, they will continue to live a life on its own. That's when you have these eruptions of these impulses, of these feelings, of these desires. And sometimes people can't overcome them. And it's because it's dealing with these things that you are suppressing. But just because you suppress it doesn't mean that it goes away. It's still there. So with shadow work, it is a healthy step-by-step means of integrating that shadow, bringing that shadow to light. Now, the shadow can be a multitude of things. It can be your fears, and your fears is not always just about physical fears, y'all. It's fear of failure. It's fear of success. It's fear of rejection. It's fear of betrayal. It's fear of being hurt. We got abandonment issues and things of that nature. And we never really we never really resolve the wound or the trauma that's left on us when we go through these things. And that's what shadow work is for. Every culture, every civilization, everything has a means of doing a form of shadow work. Now, there's levels to it, right? There's levels to it. Meditation can be a simple form of shadow work. Now, you could go as far as even therapy. Therapy is a means of shadow work because shadow work itself, the term shadow work, comes from a psychologist. Now, shadow work, the term comes from psychology. It's a form of psychology, but it's also a spiritual practice. So if you study ancient spiritual information, if you into alchemy, if you study hermeticism, if you studied ancient or Eastern spiritual practices, there's means of shadow work in all of these places. And it's like I said, it's just a means of engaging with that dark side of you so that you can address it, because your projections, your triggers, your patterns and your habits all come from your shadow. So if you have habitual self-destructive habits, 9 times out of 10 is rooted in something that you suppressed a long, long, long time ago. Now, you suppressed it because in whatever situation or circumstance that you were in at that particular time, you had to as a means of survival. But you're not in that position anymore. You see, a lot of us, right, when we get triggered, that 8-year-old version of us come out and start driving the car. And then we wonder why we end up somewhere we don't want to be, because you let the 8-year-old you come out and drive the car. So that 8-year-old version of you is just being rooted and stimulated by this old emotional experience or trauma that was experienced, and it keeps repeating, it keeps on repeating. And it goes over and over until finally you are able to recognize this projection, this trigger, this pattern. Once you're able to do that, now this is that darkness being brought to the light. And every time this happens, it is an opportunity for you to get deeper into yourself and stitch more of yourself back together again. Because from our youngest years, our youngest formative years, we've been broken apart. We've been split apart because society and the world showed us we can't be who we really naturally truly are. You have to conform to society. You have to follow the rules. This isn't always a bad thing, right? Society needs rules to a certain degree. You don't want everybody just running wild, right? But we have to understand balance, right? We have to understand balance. So naturally, your at the same time your shadow is developing, so is your ego. So it's like your light and your darkness. It's a dance. It's really a forever dance, because you're going to be dealing with it for the rest of your life, because you are constantly dealing with the overlapping of the shadow and the ego bumping heads with each other until you're able to come to some sense of understanding or understanding within yourself, so you can get to that sense of inner peace. Because what happens is, when those things come out of that shadow and your ego don't want to accept what's in that shadow, because your ego is your idealized version of yourself. It's your conscious self. So it's how you consciously see yourself. So that those things that you're not ready to see, that's in your shadow, you're gonna see it in other people, because your ego is not ready to accept that is you. That does something to your ego. That is what is called an ego death. That's why you have to have the ego death. The ego does not die and stay dead, because you will have constant ego deaths. Ego death is nothing but just a moment when you realize, damn, I ain't what the fuck I thought I was. Every time you experience that and you come to that truth in yourself and you embrace that shit, that moment, that's an ego death. You just leveled up, because you just destroyed this conscious idealized version of you based off what you think is good, right, and acceptable, and realize something in that shadow that you now brought to light. That gives you power because now you have the ability to capitalize off of what you brought out of that shadow. Because we don't realize a lot of times it's gold in that shadow. It's called the golden shadow. See, everything we hide away is not bad. You know what I mean? And it's the shadow itself isn't bad. It's not malevolent. Okay, it's not malevolent. It's a necessity. It's necessary in order for you to have the experience of the human and for you to advance your soul the way your soul is supposed to advance. You supposed to have a higher and a lower self, and it's ultimately about overcoming that lower self. So therefore, self mastery, the key of learning to master the self, because mastering the lower self, it's your lower nature. It's everything having to do with your physical, your mundane desires, your emotions, your feelings, all of those things. Because we know your emotions are going to affect you. That's what your chakra body tells you. Your chakras tell you which emotions affect which chakra. So quite naturally, when we aren't able to deal with those emotions that particularly have to do with those energetic centers, then we have problems with those energetic centers. You feel what I'm saying? So if your solar plexus has to do with your confidence, right? And it has to do with your self-esteem and your willpower, right? But if you're dealing with a blockage in that area, then you're gonna experience a lot more self-doubt. Because within that energetic body, you operating off of the memory or off of the trauma of when that shit did. Y'all still there? Let me know I'm still there. What's going on, y'all? Different gravity at times that affect your microbes, health, and energy. I kind of got away from my train of thought there. But feel free to drop your birthday if anybody want to discuss your life path. We can discuss that also. So feel free to drop your birthday. I need the month, date, and year. The month, date, and year. So when it comes to doing that shadow work, it's going to involve facing your fears. It's going to involve revisiting painful memories, because in those instances you have to have a higher sense of process. You got to reframe it now, so you got to process it differently. Let's see, what is this? My fault, y'all. My husband is he messaging me. He grabbing something for me from the store. And just speaking from personal experience as somebody, this is pretty much what I've you've been utilizing throughout my life, that's been able to help me to get through some things. And when I went through a lot of transitions and things in my life, a lot of things I learned about, shadow work and things like that really helped me, especially numerology and astrology really gave me a system to help me to understand energy, learning about energy changed my life. Learning about energy, I'm not going to say it was like astrology specific or like numerology. It was energy. When I really truly understood energy, everything changed in my life, because I was able to, it just made everything make so much more sense. It just made everything make so much more sense. So that was very vital for me in my journey, was just learning about energy. So, then once I learned about energy, I began to see how everything was interconnected. That a lot of these things were really referencing a lot of the same things, but you was talking about different terminology. Maybe because we're talking about different geographical regions, we're talking about different groups of people, but ultimately we were talking about the same universal principles, which makes it so powerful because those principles are universal. And you see those principles all throughout different cultures and civilizations and religions and spiritual systems. And when you see it interconnected like that, it changes you. It changes you. It changed me. It absolutely changed me. It absolutely changed me. Because I began to realize that it was more like a puzzle, and everybody, or there's different means or places to find the different pieces. And once I realized that, I began to see that reflected back to myself, as in even in myself, like, oh, so this is only a piece. And gradually, the more you explore of yourself, the more pieces you find. And you don't even realize these pieces of you are missing. You don't even know, because you're so programmed and conditioned to be what you've been told to be. It's really life-changing stuff, but it requires a lot of courage. It is not for everybody to go against the grain, to be the rebel, to allow the spark inside to really lead them. That is not easy. It is not easy at all. And just in the truth of coming to that realization, honestly, that took a lot of that push that I had. Once I came to that truth, I didn't feel the need to have to wake anybody up no more. I didn't feel the need to do that no more. It just didn't feel like that was something that was truly what I was. So it felt more ego driven. For me, it did. It felt more ego driven and wanted to wake people up when I came to that realization. That's why, honestly, you have to keep going. And I think, honestly, a lot of people don't keep going when they really deal in like the knowledge of self or like this inner journey. They don't keep going. And that's the thing, because the more you go, you're going to come to bigger and bigger walls you have to tear down about this idealized perception of yourself or what you think things are supposed to be. And to tear those things away, when you tear those things away, it's terrifying. It's terrifying because your identity is rooted, it's standing on this. But once you get used to it, you do it like it's nothing though now. It's like free falling. It's like free falling. But when you understand truly, right? It like in terms of that fear, because it's always about that fear of that unknown. So when you go into that dark, that unknown, it's not so fearful anymore. It's not so fearful anymore, if you can understand what I'm saying. Let me see. Is it possible for me to put a green screen video on here? I'm going to show y'all. It's really just like, I wanted to put it on here, but I knew TikTok was going to block it. But Stranger Things, it's like Stranger Things 4, the whole season 4. The whole season 4 of Stranger Things is about the mind and how to deal with a broken mind. Everything was about it. Everything. Ultimately, the whole show is, of course, because you're talking about psychic energy, you're talking about psychic power. But in 4, they really went heavy into it. Into every person had to deal with their own demons when it came to that season. And it took everything back to the source. But it was very deep because there's that part when Vecna has his speech, when he talks. You know what? Let me go to it real quick. Let me just go to it. Right? Let me just go to it. Because see, the only thing, and people will tell you, right? They'll say things like, you shouldn't really deal with this type of thing. And I'm gonna tell you why they say that. They don't understand why they say that. They only say that out of fear and propaganda. But I'm gonna tell you the real truthful reason why you do have to be careful when you're doing this particular type of work. If you don't understand the shadow, then you probably gonna get scared back to religion. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's because everything that you've been programmed into understanding about what's quote unquote evil, bad, or dark, right? Everything within you that you push into your darkness that you don't want to see that's there, that's unconscious, is gonna formulate or materialize in that in that in that vision for you. That's how you're going to see it. So when you do shadow work, when you start to meditating and you start to really doing the work on yourself, and you actually are quiet in your mind, that silence, if you're not really equipped and have done the knowledge on the shadow, it might scare you. It very well will scare you, because everything that you suppress is going to rise up to the surface. Everything has to come to the light. But if you are not prepared for that shit when it comes to the light, then that shit can scare you. But it's only your own unconscious or subconscious. It's only your own interference. It's all in your mind. Ultimately and figuratively, it's all in your mind. But that's what comes with it. So you have to know and be aware of what the shadow is. You have to understand that it is you, because if you don't, it will scare you. It's very, very strong possibility that it will scare you, because like I said, you don't know how that's going to come up and formulate. You don't know how abandonment looks, how it is, or what that is for you. You understand what I'm saying? Because everything dark, all this shit is propaganda. Everything that you've ever been given about what's evil, dark, bad, and all of that type of stuff, all of that imagery is what has become how you identify what you fear. So everything that you fear, right, is going to look monstrous to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's going to be monstrous. That's how the mind works. So when they say this shit, this is why they say this. And it's not because you literally and figuratively are really doing this, but it's because of that's what's going to rise up in you. Because you've been suppressing that shit for so long. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So depending on how aware you are of yourself, because some people lack self-awareness. Some people have no self-awareness whatsoever of their shadow, which is why they have such bad relationships, because your relationships mirror that shit back to you. It's going to mirror it back to you. Okay, they all right. Leave me alone. So your relationship serves as mirrors. Your relationship serves as mirrors. So you always have to remember that, because people gonna be able to show you things that you can't see, but you have to be knowledgeable enough to understand your feedback system. Your emotions are your feedback system. So when you have an explosive reaction to something, you're triggered. This is your feedback system. Now, a lot of times we get so hot-headed, your blood gets to boiling. You can't think when you're angry. You can't think when you're mad. So it's not always easy to be able to see these things. But when you're doing the shadow work, right? When you do shadow work, you will gradually be able to get more embracing of this, because you can't do shadow work judging yourself. You got to let the judgment go. You have to let that shit go, because you're not going to be able to bring that shadow out if you're judging yourself. Because what's going to happen, like I said, when a lot of these things come up, like you might have some bad impulses about, like, you might want to hurt somebody that you might not should want to hurt. That could be a strong shadow impulse that is coming up, but you have to understand where that is coming from. Okay, I'm not really looking at these comments, because it's not like it's a lot of comments here. Do I go to church, or is church your house? I don't really go to church. No, I grew up in the church, so I don't go to church now. Yes, I'm a mom of 4, so yeah. But I don't really like to do that in the middle, man. I be losing my train of thought because I just be flowing and I forget what I'm talking about. So I don't always want to just like pause and come to just a generalized question that ain't really about what I'm talking about. So it ain't really nothing personal. It's just I'm trying to, stay with what I'm trying to say, nothing really personal like that. So I ain't trying to ignore your questions or anything like that. So, but yeah, channeling. Yeah, I feel more authentic when I do that. Sometimes I come with notes, but I don't want to be too much in the notes that I don't let the authenticity flow. So I be wanting to be authentic. I be wanting to give it to you the way it comes to me. Because if I think about it too much, then I'm not really being, I'm overthinking. Now I'm in a space of, okay, what this person looking for and things of that nature like that. Because I'm super sensitive, to energies and shit like that. So I pick up on a lot of energies. So, sometimes shit just be coming. Somebody told me I was claircognizant. I think that's the word. Y'all forgive me for butchering the word. But sometimes it come to me like that. And I gotta stay in it so I can keep the current. So I can keep the current. If any of that makes sense to y'all. If any of that makes sense to y'all. But yeah, nothing personal though, man. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. I would like a little more engagement in the comments. That's cool. I don't have nothing against you asking me questions. Ask away, ask away, ask away. But part of me, a big part of this is I'm trying to get used to being more of a live person because I am really trying to push this book. I put a lot into this book. I put my heart into this book. All 3 of my books, all 3 of the books, I put my heart into them. But this last one, after doing so much engaging with people since I went like viral over the past couple of years, this book addresses a lot of things that people struggle with when it comes to shadow work. So I tried to touch on so many things pertaining to shadow work, and methods and how to approach it because there's no one way to do it. There's no one way to do it, and different cultures have different way of looking at it. So different people, it's what might work for me might not work for you, but what worked for you might not work for me. And we could just be building and we could just be sharing perspectives, and that can give you insight to something in a way that you never seen before. You know how they say steel sharpens steel. So just sharing a perspective. I ultimately believe us as individuals, we all are connected to the divine. We all have our own divine perspectives, and sharing your perspective, I feel like is a part of your being. So when you share who and what you are, I just feel like that's you being what you or who you were put here to be. It is hard. It is hard. And I'm gonna tell you, if you're a parent, because I know I was asked if you're a parent, naturally being a parent gonna make you address yourself. It's naturally gonna be shadow work in any type of hood, parenthood, sisterhood, brotherhood, any type of hood like that is gonna put your ass in shadow work naturally because you're gonna have to face yourself. Because like when you a parent, right? And the things that trigger you don't nothing trigger you more than your children. So if you can pay attention to the things that be triggering you about your kids, man, it gives you so much insight into yourself, into how you was raised and what traumatized you and why you see things the way you see it, and how you could be putting things off on your kids that's just coming from your own trauma. I'm trying to tell you honestly and truly, nothing makes you deal with yourself like being a parent. I tip my hats off to everybody that is a parent. You understand? I feel like being a parent is a spiritual journey. Do you hear me? I feel like as a parent, there is a lot of self-work that you're going to do on yourself as a parent. Like, it's some things that you won't see. And some people, they can't see some things unless it comes to them in that type of way. It's a very spiritual initiation in being a parent. See, small things like that. As a spiritual person, you realize so many things that we don't pay attention to or we don't really hone value to like that. It's some of the most spiritual things on this planet, or some of the most spiritual experiences that you can have But we get so lost in the translation of this physical material shit that we can forget that. You know what I'm saying? But your most powerful experiences come from your relationships. You feel me? So that's your relationships with your loved ones, your spouse, your partner, you know, your friends and your children. And even with your own parents, understand, as you become a parent, you begin to level up in your own relationship with your parents, because you begin to understand things that you could never understand before you became a parent. And now there are things that you can forgive that happened to you, that you went through with your parents, that you couldn't forgive before, because your ass understand now because you a parent now. And you get that there are difficult decisions and sacrifices that you have to make for the sake of another human being. And that shit changes you. That shit changes you. It changes you now. But you have to have grace with yourself. You have to have compassion for yourself. You have to have patience with yourself. See, you can't treat yourself the way you felt like other people treated you. Why would you treat yourself the way other people been treating you if they was treating you bad? You don't treat yourself like that. You have to have more compassion for yourself. And ask yourself, why do you have more compassion for other people than you have for yourself? Why are you so forgiving and understanding with other people, but you're not understanding with yourself? You have to be understanding with yourself. You got to have some compassion for yourself. And in doing that, that's naturally going to make you a compassionate and empathetic person for other people. It's naturally going to make you have better relationships. Naturally. Like, as I got older, I realized so many things that I used to feel like I might have been mad at my parents about. And then I got old enough to realize, like, well, damn, you know, my mama, she won't but 17. You know, she actually, hell, I don't know what I would have did at her age or with what she had. Damn, she did the best she could. These type of, when you can reframe things like this, that shit is life changing. Because it changes up here. It changes things up here. Because you got to understand, the way you think about yourself, the way you feel about yourself, okay, the way you talk to yourself within yourself, all of that is your word. All of that is your word. And your word becomes flesh. So what are you creating in your life? What are you creating in your life? Because if you don't have no compassion for yourself, you don't have no patience, you don't have no grace, you're not giving yourself permission to even make no mistakes. How can you not give yourself permission to make mistakes? You're not giving yourself permission to just be. How can you progress and be if you're not even allowing yourself to make mistakes? You're not even allowing yourself to grow. The mistakes is how you grow. You only gonna grow when you do something. You cannot stir a ship that is not moving. Where you can't stir it, you turn all you want to, you ain't moving. You can't stir a ship that's not moving. So even if you do something and it take you the wrong way, at least you're moving. At least you know, well, this ain't the way right here. But at least I know that now. At least I know that now. And that in itself is a stepping stone for you to get to something greater, for you to understand how to do it better the next time. That's all it is. See, it's a necessary part of the process, but we programming this right and wrong shit. And we don't understand what these ideas do to us on the most basic of levels. Because we always thinking about things in terms of a right or wrong. So you thinking about a right or a wrong decision. It's all about energy, man. It's really all about energy. It's all about perspective at the end of the day. And that's the one thing you have the power to control. That's the one thing that you can change. You can change your perspective. You can change your perspective and view it totally different. And in that changed perspective, you may be able to see your solution. But see, you're not going to be able to see no solutions until you really ready to bring that shit to the light. Because that's where the truth is. If you won't keep avoiding, keep hiding from yourself, keep lying to yourself, right? You gonna keep going in circles. You gonna keep going in fucking circles because you gotta bring that shit out into the light. You have to bring it into the light. And it boils down to a lot of times, like I said, fear of rejection. You know, we got abandonment issues. We fear people ain't gonna love us back. They're not gonna accept us for who we are. But if you did the shadow work, you would know your acceptance is enough. See, you only feeling like that because you don't accept yourself. You only feeling like that because you don't fully love yourself. You not loving yourself for what you telling yourself you falling short of. See, you the one grading the goddamn paper. You grading your own paper. It's you. And you the one choosing to be hard on yourself. You choosing to be hard on yourself. But I get it. Because that's what society teaches us, though. That's how society programs us to be, though. You're not taught that, you know, you got everything you already need within you. You already got it. You already got it. You already it. You already successful. Hell, you here. You made it here. You literally making it here. You made it here. That's already the greatest miracle ever. That's like a big bang. You know when a baby, like a sperm and all that, that's like a big bang. That shit is a big bang. So you are your own universe. You already great. You already fucking fantastic. But you done let society break you down. So you got to put yourself back together again. You just got to do the work and put yourself back together again. I know. Because it's like, damn, if I already came here whole, why I got to be broke up to make myself back? Hey, that's the game we chose to play. That's the game we chose to play. You just got to remember. You just got to remember. Because see, when you run from yourself and you want to push that away, you pushing away your gifts. That's what happened in Stranger Things. In the 4th season, see, she pushed her memory so far down, she couldn't even remember. She couldn't even remember. She confused herself and had herself thinking, I'm the bad one. And in that sense, she shut off her own power. She shut off her own power. You understand? She shut off her own power. Because she pushed it away in the shadow. Because she was feeling like she was the monster. So what you do when you push shit in the shadow, you pushing away your own gifts. Because we don't really truly fully understand. It's like X-Men. You know how when the mutant first, when they get their power and they don't understand how to use their power until they gotta go to Professor X. He gotta show them how to use it. At first, it's you know, it's messing up their life, it's screwing up their life until they learn and understand how to use it. Like, damn, you really a superhero. It's really like that. Are you a vegan? No. I was vegan. I was vegan for a couple of years, few years back. But at this current present time, I'm not a vegan. Yep, some people are meant to be a lesson. That's absolutely right. And you know what? It don't even make them bad people. It don't even make them bad people. They just might not be right for you. It don't make them bad people because sometimes you gotta learn a lesson. That's like I constantly tell people, my people who overgive, who give too much, you're not helping. You're not helping by overgiving. I promise you are not. All you're going to do is attract somebody who undergive. And then your ass is going to have to learn boundaries because you don't know how to stop. And you mad because this person keep taking from you. But the lesson is to stop giving. Stop goddamn giving. That's the lesson. Stop giving. You got to have a boundary. You got to have a shut off point for your own sake. When do you stop? How do you allow this to keep being a detriment to you? I do fast sometimes. I absolutely fast. Yes, I fast and detox regularly. So yeah, so you got to be able to, it's about self-awareness because everybody's a mirror. So the lesson ain't in this person need to do more. Now that's also true. But the lesson is also, you got to stop giving so much because ask yourself, why are you giving when it's a detriment to you? Ask yourself that. You have to come back to you. Why are you doing it when it's at a detriment to you? You got to address that in yourself. The number 9, well, 9 is higher integrity. 9 is all about endings. 9 is closing of cycles. 9, it's a lot of things about 9. 9 energy can be very 9 is every other energy, because everything you multiply with 9 ultimately is 9. So when you're looking at 9, 9 can represent the father. 9 can represent abandonment. 9 is like a leader, but not in the sense of being first, but leading because of actions. Because, like I said, 9 is like higher law. A person with a 9, like if a person have a life path 9, you know better. And when you know better, you have to do better because you already know, because you already did it before. See, 9s most of the time are old souls, right? So a lot of times when it comes to 9, they feel themselves dealing with a lot of damn karma, or they find themselves in situations where somebody did something and they was okay and they got away with it, but they couldn't get away with it. It's because your ass know better. See, some of us know better, and when you know better, you have to do better. That's the lesson of the 9, is you got to follow your heart. You got to follow, and you have to have integrity. 9 is all about integrity. All about integrity. Do you know how to do the right thing when nobody is looking? That's the 9, because you know better. See, some souls are newer souls. And they, some like, you got to understand and accept that everybody not the same. Everybody not the same. Everybody is not the same. I know we want to say that and everything, but it's not, everybody's not the same. We're not all doing the same. We don't all get the same test. The test is catered to you individually. You ever been in the class and don't nobody got the same test? That's what Earth is. Ain't nobody got the same test. Nobody got the same test. Now we can look around and we can learn and we can observe. Your best thinkers are observers. They know how to learn from others' experience, right? But we don't all have the same lessons. We don't all have the same lessons, and we don't all have the same blessings. So it ain't all the same. That's why you got to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware. You have to be self-aware. Now, it's going to be times like when somebody asks me about being vegan, you will feel sometimes that you have no choice but to only eat your lighter foods. You can feel like that. You can absolutely feel like that. Okay, we got August the 2nd, 1994. So let me see. So 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Excuse me. Plus 9 is 20. Plus 9 is 29. Plus 4 is 3. Oh, you're 33-6. Now 33-6, 33 is considered to be a master number. Okay, so if 33 is a master number, when we're looking at 3s, we're dealing with sensitivity and expression. You have very, very, very powerful expression, but you are super, super sensitive. And when I say sensitive, I mean you can pick up on a lot of things that other people can't really pick up on. Your communication is top tier. You understand? So things that you say, things that other people say, you know how these things are going to affect other people. And it can sometimes make you not want to fully express yourself. That's where that sensitivity come in at. And see, with that 6, because even though it's 33, it manifests into a 6. Your 6 is perfection. 6 is nurturing. 6 is responsibility. 6 is the mother. So 6 is all about perfection. So acceptance is a key lesson for you, or anybody who's dealing with a 6. It's all about acceptance. You have to accept things for as they are, because you can have these high standards. You can have these standards that's so high, and when people can't meet them, it can be hard for you to want to continue to nurture them, to continue to put into them. because for one, you can naturally see their potential because you have that vision, because that 6 represents that vision. But you got to be able to accept things for as they are too, though. And you can't be on some I should feel like this, or I should. You can't do that to yourself because you do that shit a lot. And what it do is bring a lot of self-doubt, and you get disheartened about a lot of shit and feel like you don't want to even try it. That's that sensitivity that can be kicking in. But the only thing that's really going to alleviate is for you to express that shit. You got to find a way to express that shit. You got to find a way to express that. You got to find a way to express that. August 18th, 1976. So 8 and 1 is 9. Plus 8, that's 17. 17 plus 1 and 9. So that's 27. Plus 27 plus 7 is what? 34. 34 plus 6. So you're 404. Did I get that right? Let me see. Did I do that right? Let me see. 8, 1, 8. So 8 and 1, 9. 9 and 8, 17. 17 plus 10 is 27. 27 plus 7, 34 plus 6. Yeah, 404. So 404. Oh, you stubborn. Crazy, crazy stubborn. But you strong. You strong as an ox. And it don't necessarily mean it got to be physical. Your ass can really go through some things and endure. Like you can endure some shit. You can really go through something for the long haul. Because the 4 energy is about stability. So it's like, it's very easy for 4s to be stuck because it's hard to adapt and to change. Because you think about 4 can be very rigid. 4 is like routine. It's like when things are set in. So it's easy for a 4 to get into something and just kind of stay because it's routine, because they're used to it. But because you got this 0, also, you an empath. So that lets me know that you are able to feel other people. You are able to, and you don't always know that you can do this. You might absorb their emotions sometimes. You might be able to pick up on things that's wrong with them, even if they're trying to hide it. They could be trying to hide it, and you still can really, really know or pick up on something is wrong with them. So with 4, sometimes depending on the energy, going back to the childhood, it has a lot to do with the family. It has a lot to do with your position in the family. It can be, it can, some 4s struggle with commitment. It can be really hard to commit, or you can overcommit and be committed to somebody or something that you don't really need to be committed to, but you committed already. You don't know how to not be in it no more. You feel me? So, 4, that's typically the thing with a 4. Was my numerology? I'm a 3912. 3912. The way that I look at it, but an average person would say that's just a 3 life path. But I'm a 3912. April 21st, 1961. 4, 2 is 6, and 1 is 7. Let's see, 17 plus 6. Oh, you're 24. I think you're 24, 6. Is that right? 4, 2, 6, 7, 8, 17. Yeah, 24, 6. So with the 2, 4, 6, 2, you struggle with cooperation and balance. So you can be one of the people who overgive. So you gotta learn boundaries. You can be in situations where you can get lost in another person or get lost in a situation, be overgiven or undergiven, and then you can establish resentment against a person when they can't meet you the same way or do or give the same amount as you. You can resent them and just want to cut them off. 4, that's the same. 4, going back to family, going back to being stubborn. Process. Also with 4s, understand process. You can't skip steps. So you have to avoid wanting to rush to get to the end. You got to be able to see it through. That's why commitment is either a thing or it's not. Because 4 has to do with stability. So if a person with a 4 moved around a lot, they can struggle with stability. They could struggle with commitment. You see what I'm saying? So it's depending on how that person, how they were brought up. It depends on your environment. It depends on your childhood, because there's when the energy is operating in the positive, and there's when the energy is operating in the negative. So also you as a 24/6, ultimately all of those things accumulate to you being a perfectionist. So, you can struggle with perfectionism. You had this vision, this idealized, these standards, these high standards. People might can't meet them, can have cause a lot of issues for you, especially in relationships when it comes to relationships. 11/18/2005. 1113 11 and 2 is 13. 13 and 5 is 18. So 189. Interesting. So 189. Okay, so one is confidence and creativity. So you're very, very creative. You have a gift of creativity, but at the same time, you can have an affliction that affects your creativity. And that affliction can be affiliated with your confidence, your self-confidence. Can be because when somebody has a one as a creative, like having a creative energy with a one, think about being the first to do something or the first to make something. Everybody's not going to follow suit or going to see the vision or be able to see it for what it is. So you have to be confident enough, right? You have to be confident enough to lead, to be an innovator, to be first, right? That takes confidence. So one people can struggle with it. Now, if people with a one need to be active. Like y'all need to do things like you need to exercise, you need to work out, you got to do something to keep your energy moving. Like that's the best thing for people with a one. You're not primarily a one, but you do have a one. So you 189. So with an eight, we dealing with power and abundance. So eight can be power struggles. Eight can be about money. Ultimately, it is about money because it's power. But it's not just money. It's about like the power that comes with money. So a lot of people with an eight, either they are used for their money or they are or they are being passive aggressive, or they are like overly aggressive, the business CEO type that they completely acts out their emotion. It's one or the other when you're talking about an eight, because the eight energy is like the business, the CEO, the standing on business. That's the eight. So when you're talking about an eight is when you turn it sideways, it's infinity. So what you put out is what's going to come back to you. So when it comes to eight, y'all have to try not to do things just for the sake of money. You don't want to do things just for the sake of money. You have to do something that you have a higher cause behind. And that is always going to bring you the money. But I find a lot of people with an eight actually struggle with getting the money. And that's because in that sense, your eight is working in a negative, meaning you might not be comfortable with your power. You haven't really connected with your authority, with your inner authority yet. So you might be beefing with outer authority. So people with eights have issues with authority because they haven't claimed their inner authority yet, which goes back to money, which goes back to because an eight has to know how to take action. Eights take fucking action. When an eight take action, shit gets done. But if you scared of your power, you're not gonna take no action and you're not gonna make no money. And a lot of things are gonna come out of money issues when you're dealing with an eight. And your final number is that nine. That nine and 189, you can have issues with the father. So you have issues with your dad, whether your dad could not be there. So you could, kind of struggle with just men in general. Nines got to be careful because it's endings. So you can deal with people, who might be dealing in the underworld, you could be putting yourself at risk. So you got to be mindful of that, especially when you're looking at a one, a eight, and a nine. So you want to be mindful of that. I want to say, who had a 189? I want to say Richard Pryor was a 189. I want to say Richard Pryor was a 189, but I could be mistaken. But that's what you're dealing with the 189. Okay, I see another numerologist on here. I pretty much just like to be into the life path. I know you got the destiny numbers and a lot of things like that, but I really dig deep into life path, into specifically life path. But it's always great talking with other numerologists. Yeah, it's always great getting with other numerologists. Oh, you are welcome, no problem. Let's see, September 21st, 1984. So nine. And also, these things are also relevant in terms of your actual birth date, like your actual birth date. So, as some of you who may be into numerology, you may know the day that you were born, the date, has an impact because all these things encompass your personality. Like I was saying earlier, you have a shadow aspect. There's different aspects to yourself. There's a part of you that you don't really show to anybody else. There's a part of you that greets and does meet and interact with people when you first meet people. There's different aspects to who and what we are. So that's how I look at the different means of, numerology. Oh wait, I lost that date. What date was I on? Okay, September 21st. So 9 and 2. And pardon me if I skip anybody, I'm not really trying to. It's just, I'm trying to work through the comments. 9, 2, 1. So 9 and 2 is 11. 11 plus 1 is 12, right? So 12 and 1 is 13 plus 9, we get 22 plus 8 is 30. So 4. So 34, 7. So Z4N4 underscore 444, you're 34, 7. So with a 34/7, 3, you got your sensitivity and expression. 4, stability and process. Now 7 is trust and openness. So the 7 lets me know that you struggle with trusting people. You've been betrayed before. Somebody probably betrayed you. Could have been somebody really close to you. But the real lesson in your betrayals is you are learning to trust your own intuition. You learning to trust inside yourself because you got the red flags, but you might have chose to ignore them, or you might have decided that you didn't want to see those red flags for what they were, and you went against yourself, and in turn you dealt with the consequences of somebody stabbing you in the back, because the lesson was you have to learn how to trust yourself and know that your feelings and know that your intuition is valid enough, because you always want to seek an outside answer. A 7 can always want to go outside. A 7 can need to validate things. They like to study books. 7s are smart as hell. Now they can get isolated. They want to study books. Again, I'm not trying to skip nobody. It's a bunch of comments here. So it's taking me like minutes to gradually go over just one birthday. And you can imagine there's more birthdays that come up here as I do these birthdays. So it's not intentional. I'm not trying to skip nobody. You can just put it up here again. So with the 34/7, so with that 7, you got to learn how to trust yourself. You learning that what you looking for is within you, but you doing a lot of seeking. 7s are seekers. 7s really seek. And a lot of y'all really have to just seek inside yourself. It's about you going within, taking that introspection. It's about what's your truth. You feel what I'm saying? You can't necessarily always want to validate your truth with the outside all the time. That's the lesson in the 7. January 7th, 2003. 1/7 is 8, and 2 is 10, and 3. So 134. Okay, that's a very, very karmic number. If you ever studied like Kabbalah, anything related to Kabbalah, like Hebrew, any of the Hebrew systems and their numbers, 13 is a very, 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 very karmic number. You probably heard 13 being a bad luck number, but in actuality, it is not. It's a very powerful number. It's the number of the divine feminine, the great mother. So even the 13th Hebrew letter represents or stands for mother, or it's a mother letter. So in that sense, there's a lot of liberating type of energy affiliated with that 134. It can feel it's a very karmic type of energy. So you're dealing with things related to your creativity and your confidence, and also your sensitivities and your expression. So threes threes are connected to beauty. So we are so sensitive. I say we because I'm a 3. So we are so sensitive to everything, but we have to find a way to express our beauty. We the inspirers of the world. If you have a 3, you can inspire. You can, because you see the beauty in what is. And when we express these things, we bring beauty to the world through our art, through our expression. But at the same time, if your energy is not on the good side, not on the flip. On the flip, you could be very, very crippling. Like you could be very critical. Like your words can damn near rip somebody's heart out, because that's how powerful your expression is. So I've learned the power of what I say. So there's some times where I do hesitate in what I say and how I deliver and what I'm trying to say, because I understand the frequency of my throat chakra. So 3 people typically can have a strong sense of a throat chakra. So um in that sense, right? And you got to think about it. If you go down 3, like if you go down 3 chakras, you at the throat chakra. So, and that's communication. So you can communicate from the spirit. You can communicate from spirit, meaning also you can communicate with spirit. Not always just saying that you can speak it, but you can hear it. So a lot of 3 people got to make sure they take the time to meditate. Like you got to take the time to be able to clear all this out. You got to clear this out sometimes, because your ears are magnifiers. So when people say shit to you and it's critical, right? It can affect you in a way that make you disheartened and make you not want to go forward with it. You feel me? So you got to push through that with that 3. And with the 4, that goes back to stability and process. So a lot of times 4s are constantly trying to be stable, trying to find the ground beneath them, trying to feel secure. But remember, security is something that starts within itself. So you got to get secure in yourself. So with a 1, 3, 4, a lot of that is going back to your expression, right? And it's going back to your creativity. See, that's how the numbers overlap, and they're all connected to each other, and how they can tell you a fuller story versus just looking at the one number. You see what I'm saying? So, but when you're dealing with a 13, or when with a number 13, remember the power of 13. You got 12 disciples plus the 1, right? That's 13. They gave us the 12 zodiacs, and then they said, hey, there's this 13th zodiac, and the 13th zodiac is the serpent bearer, the one that bears the serpent, which is symbolic to what Jesus is in reference to the disciples. So 13 is truly the liberator. 13 is truly the energy that brings it all back. But that's going through a lot. It's a lot of darkness in that. That's why they propaganded it the way they did. Friday the 13th unlucky number. You don't have a 13th floor. That's the whole meaning behind it, because that number 13 is connected to your kundalini. It's connected to that inner spark, divine spark energy that's within you. If you don't want to say kundalini, if you want to call it some other type of, depending on what system that you affiliate yourself with. But ultimately, that's what that 13 goes back to. So you can feel like, and I notice people with like a 1, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5 do kind of experience some dark, traumatic shit in their childhoods. Some numbers are kind of like that. Some numbers naturally, like, you can kind of tell there's a sense of there could be abuse there, because the energy is impacted in a way that you have to overcome certain obstacles, which is what kind of makes it that way. It's a lot of birthdays on here, y'all. I'm not gonna be able to do all these. I'm not gonna be able to do all of them. I'm gonna see. Let's see. 5/1/95. So that's 6. 6 and 10 is 16 plus 9. That's 25 and 5. So you're 303. Now 303. Honestly, 303 very, very sexual. 3 is also a sexual energy. Now you put a 0 on top of it with another 3. That's just a lot of sex energy, because it's so sensitive. So you gotta think about sex in a sense, the sensitivities of it, right? And you think about beauty and all of that. So with a 3, 3s are very, very gifted in their expression. 303 is also connected to beauty. Think about somebody like Rihanna. Rihanna is a 303. Now, and think about how she has that connection with beauty. She's a singer, right? And then look at who else is a 303. Chris Tucker's a 303, right? What's standing out most about Chris Tucker? His voice, the way he speaks, right? So when using his expression, his comedy is his, in a sense, his expression. Now, also with the 0, it makes you an empath. So you feel motherfuckers. You feel them a lot. And it's even worse because you already sensitive to people energetic fields with the 3. Now with the 0, you can actually feel them. So you know when you do things and it bothers somebody. But you have to be able to emotionally control yourself because you can't always operate off what you feel all the time and what people don't know that you feel. You feel what I'm saying? It's like people might not understand how you intuitively are able to pick up on these things. So you got to move accordingly. You get what I'm saying? So that 3 got a strong psychic connection to it. It's like you can know shit without understanding or without people knowing how you know shit. You can just feel it. If you in tune with your body, you can just feel it. Now, a lot of 303 people turn to drugs. A lot of them turn to drugs because they don't like feeling all those feelings and feeling all those sensitivities, and it bothers them. So a lot of people with a 303 can turn to drugs, can turn to alcohol to numb because they want to numb. So, but I gotta go get some stuff done though, y'all. I appreciate everybody hopping up on the live. I gotta get some things done though, y'all. Kind of been on here for a little minute. But I appreciate all y'all. We definitely gonna hop on and do another live another time soon. I appreciate y'all. If I didn't get to you this time, just hop on the next time. Just hop on the next time, y'all. It's a lot of birthdays in these comments. So just hop on and I got you. Or if you would like to do a one-on-one and we can really dive deep into your energy, we can do that too. The link for my website is in my bio. I have books. I got a book. We wrote a guide to inner peace, which is a book on numerology, a guide to self-mastery, which is a book all about alchemy. And the latest book, Set Your Soul on Fire, is how you do shadow work. So if you want to get into any more of this information, you can check out my website, shoot me a message or whatever. We can kind of go from there. But I appreciate everybody hopping on the live. The Master 33. Oh man, I talked about 33 already. But 33 itself is very symbolic, right? Because 33, Jesus died at 33, supposedly. But it's a representation of the Christ rising energy because you have 33 bones in your spine, from your coccyx, your tailbone, all the way down to where your kundalini sit at your root chakra, all the way down there, all the way up to the base of your spine is 33 bones. So that kundalini or that dormant energy that's said to be sitting at the base of your spine rises up your spine. That's the symbology behind the staff with the serpent, the caduceus. If you see that, or even if you see a staff with a pine cone, because the pine cone is symbolic to the pineal or to the third eye, because all the energy rises up to the pineal, which activates the pineal. So 33, that's why they're master numbers. Y'all supposed to master y'all lower nature. 22 is also a master number, as is 11. So it's like a double emphasis on that energy. Remember I told you 3 has a strong sense of psychic energy. 3 is mental, is mind, is spirit. So people with a lot of 3s, and when I say a lot of 3s, you got your birthday, you have your birth date, you have your name. There's a lot of emphasis. So when you see numbers around, it's sometimes it's the universe communicating to you, because numbers are a frequency and have a vibration. So if just like a color got a vibration, right? So every chakra affiliate with a color, it affiliates with a sound, it affiliates with an emotion, it affiliates with a mantra. So because these are frequencies. So when people say you can heal yourself if you can understand energy. Okay. So, but we're gonna do this more. I might be on later, but I appreciate everybody hopping in. Y'all hop on with me the next time. Peace.